So, what if I told you there's a secret code hidden in plain sight inside the English language? Seriously. It's a code that, once you get it, can help you build and understand thousands of new words without ever cracking open a dictionary. Well, today, we're going to crack that code. You know that feeling, right? You're reading along, and bam! You hit a word that looks like an absolute monster. It's long, it's kind of scary, and you just want to skip right over it. But here's the thing. It's not actually a monster at all. Take a word like disorganization. At first glance, it looks like a real mouthful. But if you look a little closer, you'll see it just falls apart into these simple little pieces. Dis, organize, and ation. See? You've got a piece at the beginning, a piece at the end, and the main idea, the root, smack dab in the middle. Each part has its own little job to do. And that is the entire trick. These aren't giant, scary words. They're just simple building blocks, kind of like Legos, that are snapped together. I promise you, by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to pull them apart and build them back up yourself. It is a genuine language superpower. So, what are these building blocks we're talking about? Well, there are mainly two types you add to a core word. Prefixes, which latch onto the start, and suffixes, which tack onto the end. Let's break them down. First up, we've got the prefix. Just think pre, which means before. This is a block you stick on the beginning of a word, and its whole job is to change the word's meaning. For instance, you take a simple, nice word like happy. You add the prefix un right to the front, and suddenly you've got unhappy, the complete opposite. And the other main building block is a suffix. Now this one, as you might guess, gets added to the end of a word. A suffix can sometimes change the meaning, but what it usually does is change the word's job in the sentence. Let's take happy again. You add the suffix ness, and it becomes happiness, which is now the idea or the state of being happy. It's a noun. Okay, so let's put them side by side to make it super clear. A prefix goes on the beginning to change the meaning. Unhappy means not happy. Simple. But a suffix goes on the end to change the word's job. Happiness isn't describing something anymore. It is the thing, the noun. And that right there is the big difference. All right, let's zoom in on prefixes first. Think of these as your meaning shifters. They can take a word and totally flip its meaning on its head, or maybe just add a new layer to it. The prefixes you're going to see most often are the ones that create opposites. UN and DIS are absolutely everywhere. UN pretty much always means not, like in unsafe, and DIS usually means the opposite action, like to disagree is the opposite of agreeing. Now, here is a really cool little trick with the prefix IN, which also means not. It actually changes its own spelling just to make words easier to say. So before a word that starts with L, it becomes IL, like in illegal. Before an R, it becomes IR, like in irresponsible, and before an M or a P, it becomes IM. I mean, just try saying impossible. It feels clunky, right? But impossible just rolls off the tongue. It's a pronunciation rule hiding as a spelling rule. And hey, it's not all about making opposites. Some prefixes just add new ideas. The prefix re is one of the most useful ones out there. It just means do it again. You know, rewrite, redo, rethink. You see it all the time. Okay, let's shift gears and look at the other end of the word, suffixes. These are the little guys that change a word's job description, turning it from one type of word into a completely different one. And suffixes can create their own cool little opposites too. Just look at full, which means full of, versus less, which means without. You can be careful, or you can be careless, hopeful, or hopeless. It's this perfectly balanced little system. But this is where suffixes get really, really powerful. They can perform a kind of word magic. Let me show you what I mean. So in this sentence, the word quick is what we call an adjective. Its only job is to describe the noun, which is thinker. It tells us what kind of thinker she is. Pretty straightforward. But now, watch this. We add the tiny little ly suffix, and boom, quickly is now an adverb. Its job has totally changed. It's not describing the person anymore, it's describing the action. It tells us how she thinks. That tiny two-letter suffix completely changed the word's role in the sentence. How cool is that? So, we've looked at prefixes, and we've looked at suffixes. Now it's time for the grand finale, putting it all together.
This is where you go from just knowing a few rules to being able to build entire families of words.
And this right here is the real key that unlocks everything. You don't have to memorize hundreds of different words one by one. You just need to learn one core base word, and suddenly you have the key to its entire family.
Let's just take the idea of success. That's our starting point, the noun. From that one word, we can get the verb, to succeed. We can add a suffix to make it an adjective, successful. We can add another suffix to make the adverb, successfully. And then we can slap a prefix on the front to make the opposite, unsuccessful.
And just like that, from that one single idea, success, we've instantly built 5, maybe even more, totally distinct and useful words. See, you didn't learn 5 words, you learned one idea and the system around it. This is how you learn vocabulary smarter, not harder.
These patterns are literally everywhere. Once you start to see words not as solid blocks, but as these little collections of pieces, the entire English language just opens up in a brand new way. It stops being about memorizing and starts being about solving a fun puzzle. So the only question left is, which word's code are you going to crack next?